Hey everyone, welcome. You're watching The Therapist Mom with me, Dr. Jodi. Today we have a special guest, my friend Frances.
Hi. I'm so glad to be here.
You are. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm just getting over a cold, so I apologize for my voice, but not contagious or anything. So Frances, I would introduce you. I've known Frances for a while because my daughter was in some shows with her. And I've been seeing this journey that she's been on, writing her own music and recording an album. And I was like, I have to have you on because this is a very inspiring story. I want you to, Frances is just finishing up her junior year in high school. So if you want to be impressed, think about someone that age. And we know that, the struggles of this generation, especially with motivation or putting themselves out there, and security. So it's really remarkable what you're doing, and so it'd be good to learn a little bit more about that. Is it okay if you introduce us to yourself and kind of the context of your life?
Yeah.
Where do you live? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Frances. I'm from Brighton, Rochester, New York, and I have been playing music since I was very little. I learned my first instrument when I was 6, and I've loved it ever since.
What was the first instrument?
I started on the ukulele. I grew up playing in a bluegrass band, so I learned how to improv and what sounds good, and that taught me loads of what I need today. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's like twanging and
Yeah,
bluegrass.
so I grew up playing ukulele. My brother ended up playing mandolin, and my dad was on the guitar, and we were in this band. And we performed, I don't know, a bunch of places, and I learned.
How old were you?
I was 6 when I started. My family required us to play an instrument since we were 6, and yeah, so we learned folk songs and improved a lot, and that was really, really awesome. It definitely taught me how to play the guitar because I wouldn't have been able to pick it up as fast if I didn't learn those basic skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many instruments do you play?
My primary instrument is the bassoon. Yeah, I'm a classical bassoonist. I'm in the RPYO, and that's takes up a majority of my time. I sing as my other primary instrument. Then I play the guitar, the ukulele, the bass, the piano. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what's next? You have an instrument that's on deck?
Well,
I just got the guitar.
I just picked up the guitar 2 months ago.
So
that was I finally realized that I needed to do something singer-songwriter. The guitar was an essential instrument. But every instrument that I asked to play, my parents are like, no, you play too many instruments. But I finally convinced them because I ended up teaching myself a lot of the guitar. But honestly, the only instrument that I really haven't learned that's essential to a band is drums, and I've tried many, many times, but that's a whole other skill that's I don't know, hopefully we'll get there one day.
Isn't piano similar to
sort of, yeah, but
I mean,
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that you started performing at 6. I guess that helps, that familiarity with performing before you were middle schools when you start getting insecurities about people looking at you.
Right. I was always loved performing. When I was little, I grew up doing intensive ballet dance. I was a competitive ballet dancer, and that was I definitely learned how to work hard through that, but I ended up quitting dance because I loved theater so much and performing so much. But I haven't done shows recently because I've been so consumed with performing my own stuff. It's just so different. And I've always performed, with ensembles and in bands and stuff like that. But performing your own stuff is really, really awesome. I also direct an a cappella group at my school. They're student directed and student arranged, and so I do a bunch of stuff with that, which is...
Well, you are very busy.
Oh, yeah.
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 I'm so glad you had time for us.
Yeah.
Also, if you're watching live, if you're on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, you could put a comment in, and Zach, our producer, will let us know that there's a comment. If you have any questions for Frances, that would be great. How do you find time, or how do you manage all of these things
Yeah.
And you seem like you enjoy them all.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think I used to kind of manage my time of like, what am I good at and what, but eventually I realized like I need to focus on what I'm like most passionate about. And so that's also why like I ended up not doing as many shows and kind of focusing on my own music. No, I enjoy it so much, and I think I try to fill my life with things that I like love doing so much, because I think a lot of the things, especially music, I like can't not do it. Like it's just like I love it way too much. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like in some ways I'm thinking, I mean, this is going to sound really corny, but I was like, it loves you right back.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming, I'd love to ask, like, what do you end up getting back from the music or singing or writing?
Right.
Or
Well, songwriting, I mean, singing is a whole other thing, and I think that's purely like performance and like you know, you sound good, you know you sound good, and people think you sound good, and that's amazing. But songwriting is awesome because you in addition to people knowing you sound good and you sound good and you know, you get to like process a lot of your emotions and make things that are very authentic and things that no one has ever made before. You know, your songwriting is your own stuff, and I love that about it. Yeah. So I don't know. I think, yeah, it's definitely taught me a lot about myself and
like performing. What?
Well, okay.
I feel like that gem we have to ask, right?
Yeah, I think songwriting has definitely taught me how to be vulnerable, because you know when you're writing, it's your own truth, and sharing that with other people is definitely really scary. And you know, when I first started writing, I didn't understand that I was a good songwriter, and I didn't understand that people could relate to the things that I was writing about. And that's a big one, because I definitely just it was tricky for me to not only identify that my songs were good enough for people to want to listen, but the reason that people wanted to listen is because they were about things that were very real and very honest. And I've never really written about songs or written songs about things that like I didn't feel. And so I ended up writing songs that were very like truthful and very relatable for some people. And
that was a surprise to you?
Yeah.
That everyone's like, oh my God, I felt it. Definitely. You're like writing about me.
I'm still processing that whole part of it, because it's still definitely scary to share my music. But at my show the other day at Boulder, I would play something and then I would look out in the audience and there was like 10 people in tears. And like, I mean, I like, of course I don't want to make people cry, but I was like, wow, people
it's
like
good cry.
You know, people like
it's like somebody gets me.
Right. They hear what I'm saying.
It's like a validation to their own heart.
Yeah. It was cool because not only are people like, oh yeah, your songs are cool, like I would listen to them. They're like, oh wow, like that, like I heard that song.
Yeah, or it moved me. Yeah. Yeah, that's really amazing. I mean, people are surprisingly similar.
Right.
I mean, that's what I've learned in the work that I do. Is like people have all the same stuff going on.
Right.
You know, and we have all the same fears like rejection or, you know, sadness or response to those things. And so, and I really think, I mean, client after client has always told me that, you know, music is a way that they go to when they need either a pick-me-up or relatability or it saves lives.
I share a lot of my music with the people that I write my songs about, which is that's not something that everyone does. I write music about specific people a lot, or like about a feeling or like attain to someone, you know. And I was telling my friend about how I showed this song to like someone who like they hurt my feelings, and I wrote a song about it, and then I showed it to them, and my friend was like, "Wow, that was bold of you."
Great.
But he was saying like, you know, like saying something to someone, they can hear you sort of, but singing something to someone like you can really feel like the truth behind it and like the pain, and it's different, it's powerful, you know.
Yeah, I think it like goes to a different part of the brain or something. Like it kind of like it's like
Yeah,
left brain instead of right brain, and so they could hear it in a different way.
Is a whole different part of the brain than speech. I love medicine. It's my other huge passion in life, and I shadowed like music therapists, and I have seen people like speak using rhythm and music who have not been able, they've been mute like since like accidents, and like it's crazy because it like does activate a different part of your brain, and so therefore you're relating to it in a different way, and your response is different than how it would be to speech. It's really cool.
It's really cool. Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah. And then the creative process is like, I feel like, you know, when I think about like the purpose of life, because people question that a lot. Yeah. You know, especially when you're going through hard times, you question. That's the first thing you do is like, what are we doing here? What is the point of all this? And really over and over again, like the conclusion is like, we're here to create or be creative, or, I mean, obviously biologically, right, to continue the species. But other than that is like, you know, to make the world a better place in our corner of it. Yeah. And then that's like either learning or creating. And so I think that's like our soul kind of craves doing that. Yeah. Because it feels like that's what it's supposed to do. Right. Like having a purpose. Yep,
definitely. Back to this like music medicine struggle. I love school and I love academics very much, but I find myself like writing in class and find myself writing like all the time. I can't not. And sometimes when I'm so busy that I can't write, I don't have time because of like finals or something, I'll like feel like something in my heart, like I need to get it out, because I think it's just something that I can't not do, and I become so passionate about it that it's just like I have to. And I don't know, I don't exactly know how it's gonna be in my future, but I know that I couldn't imagine we're in a life where I'm not songwriting all the time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, we're about to go to commercial, but when we come back, I really want to talk about the album. I also want to know, like, you're pretty prolific, so I'm going to get some nitty gritty about how many songs, and then your song process. Awesome. So stay tuned. We are going to do a 2-minute commercial break, and we'll be right back. Hey, we're back. You're watching The Therapist Mom with me, Dr. Jodi. Today we have Frances, singer-songwriter. We're asking her about her songs and her songwriting and her process. So this is the segment we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty. And she's playing for us tonight. So stay on. After the next commercial break, we're going to hear some live music. So excited. So, okay. So you were saying you're writing all the time, and if you're really busy, you don't get a chance to write, but it's like in your head, it's got to come out. And I'm also picturing like when you're driving or like in the shower, like, is it like just...
Yeah. I think a lot about songs when I drive, and it's very unsafe. I think
because it kind of, you go, it's like a meditative
but I also no, because I want to write it down, and then I'm like, I'm driving, and then I have to park somewhere, and I sit in my car and write, and I sit in class when I'm doing something monotonous and I write. And I read a lot at school. I used to not as much, but now I've just been writing like
you're
crazy.
Like leaning in.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know, it's yeah. And so yeah, I write a lot in my car because I observe a lot. I think part of the reason why I'm a good songwriter is because I'm very curious and very observant. And so when you observe things, then you think about a bunch of things and you come up with interesting ideas, and so but I used for a while, I'm very good at improv, and that's one way that I like to get a lot of creative things out, even if I'm not just writing. I put on like write your own song or something. There's like instrumental tracks on Spotify or on YouTube, and I just like play them and like sing and like get all my thoughts out.
Cool.
And I love doing that. But I also like when I have like a substantial idea and I like write it down and get all my thoughts out is also awesome. Yeah.
Do you do comedy? I mean, your songs aren't really comedic too much.
Well,
but like, I mean, I've seen you in shows.
Yeah.
Have it being a comedic character.
Right. I've done plenty of like your like literal improv, but not like, I don't really write comedy stuff.
So you don't write comedy songs, but you nail it if you were in a comedic role.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
I mean, I've been in plenty of improv groups that I love improv, but singing improv is, I also love that.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay. I was thinking you could do like just a voice memo.
No, I do also.
Okay.
I'll have like,
hey Siri, open voice memo.
If I showed you my voice memos, like it goes on for ages, and because I use my notes app, that's how I write all my music.
Okay.
I put it all in my notes app, and I have like about 400 songs, I think.
Are there some that you haven't gone back to? Like
I'm sure.
Gradually you're like, wait, and you have to look for it.
Yeah, I mean, I just have so many that some of them just like get lost, but yeah.
Okay. So about how many do you write start to finish a week?
Oh.
Because you write a lot of like partial stuff.
No, I don't write partial songs. I've written maybe a few, but like I have to finish a song.
Oh, okay. So when you're doing your notes app, you finish it.
These are some of them are like so I'll write, sometimes I'll write and I'll just have an idea, and then I'll think about the idea, and then I'll be like, yeah, this isn't gonna make a good song, and I'll move on. But sometimes I'll write an idea and I'm like, all right, we're finishing this into a song, because words come pretty easily for me. I've always loved writing stories, and I've loved writing poems, and I've loved, and so like I can get the words down, but sometimes the song just doesn't make the point that I want it to make.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, this is no good, we're moving on. But I usually complete the song. It's just sometimes it's like, it's not as good as my other ones. But I'm pretty hard on myself, like when it comes to the songs. Like if it's like not doing it for me, then I'm like, no, like we're not playing this one for anyone. And that's just why I have so many songs, because I'm very perfectionistic about it.
How many songs do you like? How many songs do you have that's like performable? Performable.
Oh man. Well, I think I performed, I want to say like I performed maybe 35 at my show, and I'm sure more. I mean, there are plenty. I don't even
That's
know if
a
I can
lot.
count. Yeah, like maybe 50 that are like really, I'm like, okay, I can perform this for someone, but
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure to some of our audience members, like this could be kind of intimidating, because it's like, oh my gosh, it's like so much, but there's like you have to listen. You have to go to Frances Lovett Music, and maybe Zach, you could put that up. You could put that up at Frances Lovett with 2 T's music.
Frances like the country with an S.
Yeah, Frances like the country with an S.
On Instagram and Facebook and
TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and of course, underneath the video, hopefully there'll be her tag hopefully everywhere this video is, or if you're listening on a podcast, you could look under there too. Let's see. So 50 songs. Yeah. Do you have peers that like, are some of your peers, are they really supportive, or some of them are they intimidated? Like, do you get that a lot?
I don't really get, I get a lot of support from my friends, which is great. I think that I haven't really gotten a lot of negative feedback. I mean, there are people who are like, okay, whatever. But I think probably why I'm not very fazed by negative feedback is because my parents are very critical. Like my family maybe are my like biggest critics, because they have like seen my music journey, and so like when I write a song, they're like, that was okay. Don't play that for anyone. Like I like they're always the first ones that hear my music, and so they're always the first ones that give me feedback. And often it's like they're just like, yeah, like or they'll be like, this one's great, Frances, and or they'll say like, this one's okay. And they're not musicians, but they're music people, and so they've listened to plenty. And you really trust their ear. Yeah.
Like when they say not your best, or they's like, this one is, you trust them.
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever disagree? Did you ever like just love a song that?
I'm always pretty impartial to my own music.
Okay.
I'm not like ever really super attached to my own stuff, because
that's probably why makes it easier for you.
Right. because I'm always very open to criticism, and because it's, songwriting is a constant. You're constantly, working on it, and you're constantly revising and editing until it goes up on Spotify, which is like why it's so scary to release an album, because everything's permanent now. But so, but honestly, I think that I expected a lot more criticism than I did get, because than I do get from my friends and from other people, because not a lot of people songwrite to the amount that I do. And so there's not a lot of people who can say like, oh, like maybe you should have worked on this one specific line. It's because they don't think about it as much as I do, because I overthink about my songs so much,
Do you have the friends who can be like, I don't, this line is not perfect, but I like the whole song.
Yeah.
And they help you?
but a few, there are a few of my friends who are songwriters as well. But I am obsessed with like lyrics, and that's like my main thing that I do. So I don't really have many lyricist friends. I have a lot of musician friends.
Who's your inspiration in terms of like other lyricists or singers?
I love Joni Mitchell. I think she's wonderful. And I grew up listening to Billy Joel and Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan. And
So you like songs that are transporting.
Yeah.
Like transport you to another place, and like
relatable. Right.
Back to the relatable.
Right. Yeah.
So tell us about your album.
So yeah, I've been working with my producer. We have like 13 songs, but now I'm like, I really want to get something out there. So hopefully there'll be a single soon or an EP soon, because I'm impatient. I can't wait to.
Like they're editing it. You recorded it, right? Now it's in the editing process.
Yeah. So I'm pretty perfectionistic about this stuff. Mm-hmm. So like I've just been listening to them, and I'm just like, there's something missing, and I think I need to, ponder over it for a little bit longer for some of them. Some of them are ready, and I'm ready to, put them out, but some of them I'm like, this isn't quite ready for for everyone to see yet.
So you went to like Cleveland?
I went to Ohio to record, and that was amazing. That was a 2 days, 12-hour days, like most fun I've ever had. Yeah, like I just love working on my music. I'm super like persistent, and that's like that. Yeah, it was a dream.
That's awesome. Yeah. And did you have bandmates in there? Like
no, just me. I played all my own instruments.
Oh, okay.
My producer played like one guitar track for me. Yeah, because I was a week into learning guitar, and I played all the guitar parts except for one. That's
cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. All right, so what's the album called? What's the theme? Like, what is this? What do we?
So
what do we get when we get?
I wrote a song called "Unromantic," and I was like, that's a cool album title, because all these are like sad love songs. So I love that. I don't know what order that album will come out eventually. There will be an album called "Unromantic," but it's I want like a pretty like raw sound, like an honest like sound of like what I would sound like performing, but I also want to take all the influences that I love and like combine them to make something that is very listenable and not just like a poem. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, trying to figure out how to do that.
Cool.
How to do all those things.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. What will be the after this next commercial break, we're gonna hear you sing, and hopefully you could tell us a little bit about what do you know, like the song that'll be the single that's not yet.
I think is going to be a piano song, but this one is one that I haven't recorded yet that I'm gonna play. And
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I love this song.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, before we go to commercial, thank you for sticking with us. I so appreciate you all here. We have about a minute left here before we go to commercial, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about if you wanted to go to jodievent.com/therapistmom. I have an Finding Your Inner Compass training video for you. If you wanted to go there, you could sign up for email updates to hear about what the theme is for the coming week of the show, but also you get that video. I want to tell you about my book, Anxiety, I'm So Done With You. I always just put a little plug for my book in the show. So you could, this is for Generation Z, their parents are their helpers. So if you want to get yourself a copy of this book, if you need any help, there's an audiobook and there's also a podcast that explains each section of the book, goes a little bit deeper, tells a little more stories. So we're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we are going to hear Frances sing for us live. We'll see you after that. Hello. Thanks for sticking around through the commercial break. I'm Dr. Jodi, and this is Frances. And you're here watching us live at the Therapist Mom Show, or you're listening to the recording or watching the recording, of course. You are allowed to put comments in. If you are watching live on Facebook, maybe there might be a problem. If not, you could put a comment under this video and we'll get back to you later. But if you want to ask us any questions live, you could do that. So do you want to tell us a little bit? You want to introduce the song?
Yeah. So this song I wrote while driving around Brighton. And I was looking, it was springtime. I was looking around and I was realizing there are like 2 types of pink trees in Brighton. I've never seen any more. It's the weeping cherry and the magnolia, and I've never seen other pink trees. And every single person in Brighton has those 2 pink trees, or one of them, in their yard. And I was just like, this is so weird. I live in such a small town, and I was like, that's really interesting, like an interesting topic, like 2 things. And we were listening to Joni Mitchell in chorus that day, and we were listening to Both Sides Now, and I was like, oh, I like this idea of like 2 sides of everything. And so I was like listing all these different things that had 2 sides, and I just I don't know, I wrote this song sort of like a formula, and I wrote this in German class when I should have been paying attention.
Don't tell her teacher.
So and then I ended up making a whole song, and I played this as the last song. I ended up closing with this. I always close with this song at my show, and afterward everyone was like, you have some great songs, but that last one was really good. And I was like, this may be recency bias, but thank you, because I really like this song a lot. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you picked it.
Yeah. There are 2 kinds of trees in this town, the trees I climb and the trees that hold me down. They both talk and sway in the breeze. I think so hard that I even judge the trees. There are 2 kinds of men in my life, the man that loves and the man that hates his wife. An absent father, never on the way. How'd you become the man you are today? I've seen 2 kinds of you, I've seen red and I've felt blue, and I still don't know you somehow. I've seen 2 kinds of me, back then both set me free, but there's only so much that they allow, and it all just seems so simple now. I've breathed 2 kinds of love in my lungs, a love that heals me and love that writes my songs. And even when I hate it, I still cave. It's any kind of laugh that I crave. There are 2 kinds of pain that I've seen, the pain I learned from and pain that just feels mean. No matter how hard life moves on, and you'll still love her even when she's gone. I've seen 2 kinds of you, I've seen red and I've felt blue, and I still don't know you somehow. I've seen 2 kinds of me, back then both set me free, but there's only so much that they allow, and it all just seems so simple. All just seems so simple. I've seen too kind to you, I've seen red and I felt blue, and I still don't know you somehow. I've seen too kind to me back then, both to set me free, but there's only so much that they allow, and it all just seems so simple. All just seems so simple now.
I'm the only one. I only one she could hear, but I'm sure you're all clapping in your place. That was wow. Yeah, that's gorgeous. I could see why you close the show with that, because it's like it's bringing it all together.
Yeah.
Like it starts out with like trees you climb and trees to hold you down. I mean, every single comparison was like, oh.
Yeah, thank you. I love metaphors so much, and that song I was like, I wanted to start from like a little small egg and then expand. Yeah,
it is. It's like it was like two kinds of you, two kinds of the other person that you're talking about, two kinds of but it's like, what was the line about you? There's two kinds of me, but I learned
two kinds of me, begged them both to set me free, but there's only so much that they allow.
Yeah. Right. Ooh. There's so much meaning in that song. We could really unpack this, but what's your favorite line, part?
I breathe two kinds of love in my lungs, and love that heals me, and love that writes my songs. Because
I love that line too.
Yeah, that's like, yeah.
I love that you use lungs.
Yeah, I've written like 4 love songs ever, and the other ones are all like breakup songs, because I don't know. I when I'm happy, I'm like not at the piano. I'm out doing things, and and when I'm ready to process, I sit down and with my guitar or whatever instrument, and
I had a client once who said, like, how come when I'm happy I don't know it, but when I'm sad I know it. And I'm like, because you're out there doing stuff and you're happy, and when you're sad you're thinking about it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And when you think about things, then you can create some pretty good metaphors for them.
There was one line in there about overthinking. Was there one line about overthinking in the song?
Yeah, I think so hard that I even judged the trees.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, people.
Yeah.
I mean, because you know yourself, but you know people, and that's why your songs are so relatable. Like, thank you. Yeah. I even judged the trees. I was like, that is a good line. Right? Oh, we do have a comment here. Pidge said, do you have a favorite song you've written?
Yeah, the one that I'm gonna release first, I think. I love that song so much, and I recently submitted it for a songwriting competition, which hopefully, but I do love that one. That one's got to be up there. Which will hopefully go well. I don't really know anything about the competition, but that one is
it the first competition you ever applied to?
It's like very it's
you got to do it.
Yeah. So I love that song. It's about a relationship and how I can it's about loving someone who doesn't have the same capacity for like intensity of love that you have. And I love that song. Yeah, it's called I Tried, so it'll be out soon.
So these guys that you wrote the breakup songs about, you've showed them the song, like you showed them that you singing that, or you just showed them the lyrics?
Oh, so some of them I like literally when I'm upset. Okay, so I don't always understand how much power I have as a songwriter, because again, I have always kind of thought like, no one really cares. But I will play sometimes when I'm upset, instead of really explaining, I'll just like be like, this is how I feel, and so I'll show them, I'll send them like an audio recording, or I'll play them the song, which is insane, I know. And they'll get it, and they'll be like, oh, okay, got it. But I've always written songs. I think the first song that I ever like wrote, like fully wrote down, like performed, was a song that I wrote for my mom for like Mother's Day or something. And like I realized like that people enjoy my songs. And I've written songs for my cousins and written songs for my friends, you know, like specifically for people.
Yeah.
But like when I process my own emotions, they just
those are for you.
You know, yeah. And those are the ones that are the most powerful because they're, you know, honest, and those are the ones that I end up sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found like, you know, I've seen Frances perform, and like I found you like really real on stage, like between the songs you like talk, and it's like, you know, I like that.
I love that part of performing. That's like, yeah,
like you're really just relating to the audience.
Right.
Of course, there's a lot of people you know in there because everyone's like psyched that
I love chatting with the audience.
Look at you.
Right, because you know, I also feel like it's like, oh, thank you so much for listening to me play my own songs. Like that is so nice of you, because I don't write a lot of bridges in my songs because I feel like people will get bored of my songs after a certain point.
So there's a lot into it.
Yeah,
I was thinking that too. It's like nothing's repeated. I mean, there's themes, and then there's the and I was like, that's a lot of work. Yeah.
Mouthful.
So tell us, we have a couple minutes before the last commercial break here. Tell us how to write a song, because that was our promise here.
Right.
Like,
how
what's
to
your
write
process?
A song.
Yeah. How do you do it? So we know that you are writing the car, and then you're like, this has to be finished, and like then what do you do?
So first of all, it's very important to know the structure of a song, how it goes, because some people write songs and they don't understand that. I mean, songs don't have to rhyme, but in my opinion, they do, because they're so much better when they rhyme. Yeah. Sometimes they don't, and that's like totally up to you. But I love songs that rhyme. Rhymes are like one of my favorite things ever, and I could talk about rhymes for forever. But you get an idea, think about something. That's the hardest part. You have to think about what you want to write about. Then you have to commit to that one thing, you know? And like for that song, I decided that I was going to write about two things, and I was going to come up with a list of a bunch of two things, a bunch of pairs of things. And so I was going to talk about trees, and I was going to talk about men, and I was going to talk about love, and I was going to talk about pain. And so I made a list of those four things, and I was like, these can be compared, and they can be a broader idea. So you have to have a concept that's going to be able to be applied to other things. Then you got to have your song structure, and you can look those up. But those are important to know because of how your rhyme schemes go, because your song has to just flow. But once you get good at that, you just need to do it, like literally write out a bunch of ideas. And then you can filter through like what you like and what you don't like. Because I've written I think I wrote like 5 choruses for that song. And then eventually I was like, yeah, this one's horrible. And then I played it for my mom, and she was like, no, that's good. I was like, okay. And a big part of it is just play it for other people and revise and play it for other people and then revise and then play it for other people and listen to it every single day and think about what parts you hate about it and what parts you love about it. And eventually I will realize that some of my songs are so good. And I'm like, oh, this is a great, great song. But the first time that you will write it, it will sound...
You eventually have to like stop the revisions. You know, they say that about writing. You know,
like after
you can keep going.
After a few days, honestly, I either decide to scrap it or it's done, you know. But there's a few days where I will listen to it every day and I'll think, okay, what is bad about this?
Because you can keep tweaking.
You know? Yeah, because the biggest part is just to have it a song that I don't cringe at when I listen. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I just want to make sure that I'm happy with what I wrote. Yeah. And, you know, if I'm like, makes me happy to listen to and I'm completely satisfied with it, I'm probably my biggest critic. So other people will, you know, be happy to listen to it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm so glad you're watching. We do have to go to another commercial break here, and then we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. This is the last segment of The Therapist Mom with me, Dr. Jodi. Today we have Frances Lovett from Frances Lovett Music on. She just played for us. So if you are just joining us now, please watch the recording because you're just going to really love this song. So we have just a few more questions left here. And if you are watching us live on YouTube, you could give us you could ask us a question and we'll answer it, or ask Frances a question. Okay, I'm going to look at one thing I've been wondering, because you say you write a lot of sad songs. And and I knew that because I've heard you, but do they, like, is your emotions that song was inspired by all worked out and integrated? So when you're performing, are you not re-triggered, or
Yeah.
what
It's,
happens?
some of them, when I write songs, they're not always worked out, and I can listen to the songs after I wrote them and not be figured out with the emotions. But I think it empowers me a little bit. It gives me control because I can say, this is how I'm feeling, and I can write a damn good song about it. And and the emotions kind of become repurposed, which is cool because I can identify how I'm feeling and process that while also making something out of it. And it's not this sad, horrible, tragic thing that happened to me. It's now this sad, horrible thing that happened to me. And it's also great writing material, and
it's helping other people.
Yeah. And I think that it helps me share that experience with other people, and people can relate, and it's like it's very,
So that validates you. They're being validated, but you're being validated right back.
Right.
I have a question. Is there some songs that you wrote a while ago that with the repetition, those don't re-trigger because after you've sang them so many times, or so many years, like,
yeah, honestly, there aren't many songs that trigger me. There was one that really was like the saddest song that I think I've ever written, and I had a lot of trouble playing it out. And I played it out for the first time in Brooklyn, New York City, and they were so nice to me. And I realized, like, wait, like, I don't have to be ashamed of having these emotions. People like that I have these emotions because they can relate, and this is powerful. And it's powerful when people talk about things that are really hard to talk about, and sing about things and sound good singing about things that are really hard, and that song has become one of my favorites because I just, it has helped me so much to sing it out. And
what's the title of that one?
That one's called Empty.
Is it on your
it'll be on the album. Yeah, I think I might have posted it on my Instagram.
Okay, so we could like search it maybe. Yeah, go search at Frances Lovett Music. Empty. Ooh, I gotta hear it.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was one of the ones I heard.
Yeah, that one, they're usually about like love and emotions, but that one was about physical experiences, and so that one was tougher for me to write. Yeah. And
people loved it. Yeah. Of course they did, because it's real.
Yeah.
And I think that shared understanding is like bonding.
Right. And I also, a lot of my songs are pretty general. And so, many people can relate. And I played this for my great aunts, and they were like, wow, that was a very powerful song. And even though it was about a teenage experience, like the metaphors that I create, and they're general. And so naming specific experiences is less important to me than like naming that feeling.
Yeah. It's weird when someone does that. Like, so when you're performing, you're on social media, or like you're on a stage performing in person, like people, like, you come into their hearts because they understand, and then they feel like this bond with you. You don't even know them.
Exactly.
But it's lovely. Usually the response is so lovely in that kind of situation, but they feel like they have this, because people do that with me with my videos. They like feel like they know me,
Yeah, exactly.
And I've, it's been one-sided at that point, but they come up to me and tell me how it like impact them. And then I'm like, we have this bond.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And it's really kind of cool.
Yeah. It's really cool, especially going up to people after the show and seeing how it impacted them, people who I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Probably there's like all the people who've come up to you, probably there's like multiply that by a lot who don't say anything, because there's only like 10% maybe say something. There's another 90%, the other rest of the 100.
Yeah. And it's different when people come up to you when you're performing in a musical and they're like, you're amazing, and you impacted them.
It was a different character.
Mm-hmm. But when you impact them as yourself and your true vulnerable self, because I think I'm the most myself when I'm performing my music.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're getting to the end of our time here. And I'm so happy that you spent this time with us. If you're here live or if you're watching the recording, I'm so happy. Please share this, like it, subscribe. and follow along. Come to jodievin.com/therapistmom. And when you're there, you could sign up for email updates, and you could get my video, Finding Your Inner Compass. So we're here with Frances Love Hewitt. Love Hewitt. That's the other. I'm so sorry. Frances Lovett Music. And what message do you want to send to like your peers, adults, anybody who's watching?
Oh my gosh, so
Anything?
much pressure.
I know that's.
Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, and you can create really awesome things.
Yeah, good one. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, because you could create really awesome things. Okay, I love it. Well, thank you so much for watching, and come join us next week. Oh, next week, my next couple weeks are pre-recorded, but you're gonna love those episodes, so tune in. Thanks for watching.